Welcome to Hungry Books. Please subscribe. Worrying is bad for your health and happiness. What's more, it usually doesn't achieve anything either. This is all down to our evolutionary hardwiring. Our ancestors' survival depended on constant vigilance. Worrying was pretty useful when there was a good chance you'd stumble across a saber-toothed tiger. Unfortunately, the human brain isn't very good at telling the difference between a beast of prey and a board meeting. That's what makes stress so common in today's world. Structured around a series of small steps that make a big difference, this is the ultimate guide to getting in touch with your rational brain and putting your worries behind you. Worrying, anxiety and stress are all part of a cycle that can affect your health. Worries can quickly snowball out of control. The key to combating them is remembering this simple motto: stop before you spiral. Worrying is part of a cycle, where the next stops are anxiety and stress. More precisely, it's a mode of thinking that leads to anxiety, which, in turn, triggers your body's survival instinct, a series of physical reactions that fall under the category of stress. These can include heart palpitations, dilated pupils and a tightened chest. Worry, anxiety and stress form a feedback loop. Worrying is both a cause and effect of anxiety or stress, and the cycle can be triggered at any stage. Stress can lead to anxiety and worry, while anxiety can also cause worry and stress. There are a number of physical symptoms. Stress weakens your immune system and leaves you more susceptible to illnesses, as well as decreasing your sex drive. Mentally, the cycle robs you of the valuable headspace you need to make sound decisions. To put it starkly, stress makes you stupid, as you're constantly reacting to a threatening world rather than acting rationally. Most importantly, you lose the ability to simply enjoy the present moment when you're stuck in this kind of feedback loop. When you're constantly preoccupied with worst-case scenarios, you lose your sense of motivation and creative inspiration. One of the main reasons people worry about is their past. Many worriers were conditioned to be anxious during their childhoods. There's even evidence that worried parents can transmit stress to their babies during pregnancy. Painful experiences are another common cause of worry. Whether or not it was a car accident or an abusive relationship, what happened to you in the past can shape how you deal with the world in the present. Past experiences can often manifest themselves as hypersensitivity to potential danger. Consequently, one of the first steps to conquering your worries is becoming aware of the way events trigger memories of your past. Then there's the fear of the unknown, one of the most powerful causes of worry. Life is unpredictable. Jobs, careers and relationships are all subject to the whims of fickle fortune. That's what makes stability, security and the familiar so comforting. It's also what makes questions like, how am I going to pay the rent, or, will I ever be successful, so agonizing. The unknown is worrying because it's beyond your personal control. It's frustrating to feel like you don't have your destiny in your own hands or have to rely on others. Luckily, there's a way out. When you get to know yourself better and ask yourself why you're worrying, you're much more likely to be able to put things in perspective, and that's a great basis for tackling your worries rationally. Your rational brain tries to rein in the worries stemming from your primitive and emotional brains. If you find yourself worrying away about something, you can blame it on your brain's basic survival instinct, because humans are evolutionarily hardwired to detect danger and respond appropriately. That's what happens when a species spends its infancy avoiding various predators. Worry is located in the primitive and emotional parts of your brain. The primitive brain is located deep within your subconscious and controls the fight or flight stress response. Its main job is keeping you alive, but it also monitors your nutritional needs and sex drive. The emotional brain works together with the primitive brain. Together, they release hormones like cortisol and adrenaline during moments of intense stress, which boost your energy levels as well as feelings like excitement, anxiety and fear. Worrying is part of the survival strategy of these two areas of the brain. By making sure you're always on high alert, they keep you ready to fight for your life or flee from danger. That obviously makes a lot of sense if you're battling for survival out on the savannah. In today's world, however, you're more likely to find yourself in a stressful board meeting, rather than facing down a predator. Unfortunately, the primitive and emotional brains just aren't very good at telling the difference between the two. As far as they're concerned, one is just as dangerous as the other, which is why the human body overreacts to everyday events. The rational brain, by contrast, helps keep worries in check. Located in the higher brain, or neocortex, it's responsible for problem-solving, memory and other complex tasks. It's this part of the brain that lets you accurately assess the world around you and make sound decisions on the basis of that information. You can train yourself to tap into the rational brain when your worries are spiraling out of control. Think back to the last time you jumped to conclusions or overreacted, and ask yourself what someone who was more rational would have done. Awareness is the first of 3 steps that'll allow you to start tackling your worries rationally. The exercise is all about increasing your self-awareness. Essentially, it's a way of tracking a worry down to its source. Ask yourself, where is my worry coming from? Next, sort your worry into one of 3 categories: situational, anticipatory or residual stress. Situational stress is a form of anxiety related to what's happening in the present. Then there's anticipatory stress. This is the anxiety you feel when you're thinking about the future. Residual stress pertains to the past. Post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) is a good example of a particularly severe form of residual stress. So what does reflecting on the nature of your worry actually achieve? Well, categorizing your worries allows you to better scrutinize the source of your stress. It short-circuits mindless anxiety and puts you in a position to calmly ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Once you start doing that, you'll get a better sense of the kinds of things that trouble you most. That's an important first step. Awareness means you're already halfway to tackling the source of your anxiety. Analyze your worries in order to understand their root cause. The next step is analysis. Let's start by sorting out the worries which are simply too hysterical to entertain. Once you've done that, it's time to knuckle down and start doing something about the remaining worries. The sorting process is all about reflecting on the root cause of individual worries. That means asking whether they're hysterical or helpful. Historical worries are a form of anxiety that mirror your experiences in the past. Hysterical worry is the exact opposite. It's deeply irrational. It's the kind of anxiety that makes you fret about shark attacks, plane crashes or contracting an STD from a public toilet. At last, there's the helpful worry, a form of rational behavior. This kind of worry is caused by reflecting on a real problem, such as a performance review at work or an end-of-year thesis presentation at university. Now that you've sorted your worries into separate categories, it's time to ask what you can do about them. If you're preoccupied with a historical worry, your best bet is to seek emotional support and move on. Childhood trauma and failed relationships can leave deep emotional scars. In serious cases like these, it's advisable to turn to a therapist, counselor, friend or colleague. Whomever you choose, the most important thing is to find an outlet for your emotions. Letting your feelings out doesn't just make you feel better, it also helps provide clarity about the source of the anxiety that's been bugging you. More importantly, it sets you up to let go of old grudges and devote your attention to the future. What about hysterical worry? The key here is to contextualize your anxiety by looking at relevant statistics and interrupting your own thought process. You can always look up the data. The chances of being mauled by a shark, or struck by lightning, murdered by an intruder or contracting an STD from a public toilet, are vanishingly small. You can also challenge your own thought processes by asking yourself how often your predictions have come true. Not that often, right? Perhaps it's best to put the crystal ball away and free up some headspace for more important matters. The final step to tackling worry is taking action and focusing on outcomes you can influence. If you think the world is beyond your control, you're in for a pleasant surprise. You're actually much more influential than you give yourself credit for. That doesn't mean you can control everything, of course. The key is to identify the outcomes you do have some influence over and focus your energies there. Some worries can be addressed while others can't. If you want to take action, it's a good idea to start by assessing the nature of your helpful worries. Use a sliding scale of 0 to 10. 0 means you have no control whatsoever, while 10 means you're fully capable of determining the outcome. Once you've done that, you can start ranking your worries. Focus your time and energy on solving the ones which rank highest in terms of your influence over them. Assessing how much control you have is important because attitude is a huge factor. The more influence you perceive yourself as having, the more likely you are to take action. A scientific study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology confirms as much. It showed that optimistic people who regularly overestimate their influence are less likely to suffer from depression than those with a more realistic view. In short, there's nothing wrong with thinking the glass is half full. What's better is that it motivates you to get out there and fill the rest up yourself. Your imagination is a powerful tool that can both trigger and alleviate worrying. It's a great example of how applying the powers of your imagination can help reduce anxiety. No wonder, the imagination is a powerful tool. But it's just as capable of triggering worry and stress as it is of calming you down. Humans are pretty unique in this respect. No other animal experiences stress triggered solely in their mind. That's because the primitive brain can't distinguish between real stressor in the present and imagined stressor in the future. Hypothetical events trigger the same fight or flight reactions as actual events. But the imagination can also be put to more productive uses. In fact, it's a great assistant in the battle against worry and anxiety. Change your personal worry triggers, stop trying to please others and learn to ask for help. You're usually your own harshest critic, and there is nothing critics love more than anxieties. So lighten up and take a load off. Here's a good place to start: stop putting yourself down. The next step is to stop trying to please everyone around you. Worries are often rooted in personal relationships. People want to please their friends and families and avoid rejection, criticism or confrontation, and that often means losing sight of their own happiness. Finally, learn to ask for help when you need it. If you're worried about something, swallow your pride and ask for help and advice. There are plenty of people you can turn to, whether it's a partner, counselor, boss, colleague or trusted friend. Now that you've been given the tools to defeating worry, stress and anxiety, it's time to kick back and start enjoying life. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.